Hi, Faculty Assembly. Welcome to my basement office, which doubles as my workout room. I'm coming you today to share a number of different things. First and foremost, the exciting part, I want to congratulate several folks on their promotion and tenure status. So, Amy Dunham Strand received tenure and promotion to Associate Professor. Mark O'Toole received tenure and promotion to Associate Professor. Dave Hebert received promotion to Associate Professor. Gretchen Rumer received a promotion to Full Professor. So, congratulations to all of you on your great achievement. Next, I want to congratulate our new emeritus faculty, and that is both Li Hing Chen and Bob Margot. Congratulations to the both of you. Further, want to announce the first of its kind. We awarded emeritus status posthumously to Carol Winkle, who was part of our education department for many years. The education department thought it was a fine way to honor a wonderful faculty member, and so that was awarded. Next, I want to talk with you a little bit about a couple of items that I submitted to the Faculty Affairs Committee. So one of the items that I wanted to talk a little bit about is the description edition for instructors. So in the handbook, instructor is the only other title available for a full-time faculty member who is not tenure track. This title hasn't been used very much. In fact, I can't see recently where it's been used at all. Part of the reason I believe that it's been avoided is because there isn't a way to assess an instructor based on the current description. So I believe adding that assessment will allow us to use that title appropriately instead of what has been done. And so there's a number of different titles that have been used that either don't mean anything in the handbook or are utterly improper to describe the individual. So I'll give you some examples. We have an associate or assistant provost with, associate or assistant professor with fixed term behind the title, which isn't a thing that actually exists in the handbook. We also have one individual who's a visiting lecturer. A lecturer, according to the handbook, is a part-time faculty member. This person is full-time and is also not visiting, has been a long-term faculty member. We have a visiting instructor who is, again, not visiting. This person is long-term. We also have visiting associate or assistant professors, many of whom are also not visiting. They are here long-term. And so this will allow us to clean up a lot of this and have some consistency with the handbook. So that's one of the items. The next thing I wanted to talk with you about is the deans. And so there are a number of different things I wanted to share with you as to why the deans, why now. So first and foremost, I wanted to make sure that you knew that the new provost has been in the loop, has been in conversations about this. So certainly during the interview, and we have meetings set up for in the next 7 to 10 days. I can't remember the date right now. We'll be meeting to talk about some of these things. So this will be in harmony with the new provost. The second thing that I wanted to share is pieces about why this is so important. So first off, I think that part of our morale issues have to do with the fact that we don't have a structure which allows us to be well supported, nurtured, and just kind of all of those pieces that make a workplace satisfying. The provost currently has 103 direct reports, and it is really impossible to be able to give the kind of attention to each faculty member that they might like, and that might include things like coming to presentations that an individual gives, coming to events that they've put on for their students or things that they're doing with their students, as well as just time to talk about professional development or about goals and dreams and all of those kinds of things. Right now we have department chairs who serve that function, but there's nobody to feed the chairs. So in other words, the chairs are supposed to do that for the faculty members, but there really isn't anyone there that's doing it for the chairs. Again, there's too many department chairs for the provost to be able to spend that kind of time with those individuals. And so it leads to some dissatisfaction because we're not getting the sort of love and appreciation that we might expect in a workplace. So I believe the deans can provide that layer. So how I envision this looking is the provost gives that love, support, nurturing to the dean layer. The dean layer then passes that model on down to the chair layer, and they support and nurture and give professional development and all of those kinds of things to the chairs. And then the chairs, feeling good about where they're at, are then able to do that for the faculty members in their department. And so that's one, I think, important piece of it. The next important piece is creating a professional development line that allows us to build administrators from within the organization. So becoming a department chair gives you some administrative experience and background, and it would allow an individual to feel comfortable and competent, able to take on a dean role. The deans then would have a much greater level of administrative experience and practice in their position that would then allow them to feel comfortable and competent in applying for an associate provost or provost position. And I think that's really critically important. I think we're always going to be best served if we can have internal candidates who understand how we operate. I think the transition period would be much smoother and shorter. And so in the best case scenario, that's where we look for our administrative layers, is from within. And that is not to be taken as any sort of a knock against our new provost. I'm very excited to have Steve come and take over. And I think he's going to do an amazing job. But best case scenario in the future is certainly to be able to develop from within. The next reason that I think the deans are really important is that provosts are quite short-lived here in recent years. 3 years seems to be about the maximum. And I can tell you, for me, 1 year was about the maximum. And that's because the provost has just an immense responsibility, from the number of people that report, just all of the various different layers. There's so much to do on a day-to-day basis that it becomes nearly impossible for a provost to spend time in that higher order thinking that really needs to happen to be able to bring an academic unit forward into the future, to help re-envision where Aquinas academics should be in the long run, and to be able to work out those plans and think them through and share them, get faculty support, all of the things that need to happen. It takes time and mind space to be able to do those things. Instead, because most of the time is spent in just overwhelming myriad of things that have to be done on a daily basis, we don't ever get to that point, and we burn out we burn out our provosts. And so they leave us in 3 years. If we're going to have good stability within the academic side of the house, I firmly believe that this is the way to go. Taking some of the load off of the provost so the provost can do the job the provost was designed to do and not get burned out, so that they can stay 5 years, 8 years, whatever that number is, but something longer than 3, so that we're not sort of in this constant churn. The next thing that's important in all of the pieces that I've given to the Faculty Affairs Committee is why the deans need to be recognized in the handbook. It has been very difficult for the current deans to be effective in their work, and to take a load, quite frankly, off of the provost because the deans aren't recognized in the handbook. So there's been, it makes them inefficient, and it doesn't help the provost. And so it's really important that those deans be recognized in the handbook, what role they're going to play in relation to the faculty, as well as the description of their jobs and so forth. I believe that needs to be there for them to be effective. The last piece that I want to talk about the deans is just what the dean position would look like in a nutshell. So the dean would be a 5-year post with a 1-year renew option. The positions would be 11 months rather than 12 months, and a couple of the deans currently are 12-month positions. The deans would be expected to teach one course each semester, so that they were teaching deans. They would have, with that 11 months, they would have July off, as well as all of the other days off that faculty enjoy, as opposed to currently deans are on a vacation schedule that is alignment with other staff members, and that's 4 weeks of vacation. So it's certainly a better deal from a vacation standpoint. And then the last thing that I wanted to add to this is in the structure that's being proposed for the deans, and it has been accepted by the president, is that there would be 4 deans, that each academic unit would report to one of the deans. There would only be 1 associate provost, and in doing so would keep the number of administrators within the academic side of the house even, consistent with what it currently is, rather than adding 1 more individual to it. So I hope that answers a number of questions that folks have had about the dean stuff. And then the last thing that I wanted to say is how pleased and impressed I have been with your ability to transition. This is an incredible challenge, to say the least, to make this shift. And you all did it, I think, incredibly well, based on much of the feedback that I've seen from students and faculty, and in many cases with some joy and enthusiasm about learning a new thing. I want to particularly say what an impressive lift it was for us in particular. You know, other schools have the technology already in place that made this a little bit easier for them, whereas we have not had much of the technology in place. And so for us it was an even bigger challenge, and you all rose just incredibly to it, so impressively. I also want to say how wonderful it is to work with a group of people who, at a time when I think many others would sort of get self-absorbed in how hard this thing is, and really get selfish and kind of self-absorbed, you all instead are reaching out to your students and caring about them. You're reaching out to each other and making sure that folks are supported, and you're sharing good ideas, and you're encouraging each other. You even are reaching out and taking the time to worry about me, which is unbelievably heartwarming. You have so much on your plates, and I'm amazed that you have the time and capacity to do that, to care for everyone. It just makes me know that my decision 12 years ago, those people that I interviewed with, the impression that I had of the place, that I wasn't wrong, and that I made the right choice. So Thank you for being you.